The first one we're going to talk about is Tesla Motors, which makes electric vehicles, powertrain components, lithium-ion battery packs. It recently acquired Solar City, so we're going to discuss that whole business within Tesla and the potential synergies. It has a market cap of $32 billion and trades on an infinite PE because it makes money every now and then, but not really consistently enough, and it pays no dividends. So Tesla, talk us through the Solar City acquisition and the rationale behind it.
Yeah, they bought out Solar City back, I think it was last month, finally. They had a 22% stake and then they consummated it, I think, in the middle of November. Basically what they're going to be doing with Solar City is they've already developed solar panels that you can fit into roof tiles. But Solar City, I think, gives them much greater scale in the ability to do much more on that front. They're also working with Solar City in working out much better battery components, because it's all very well to collect energy from the sun, but now you've got to store it. So how do you do that? So I think it should be a situation where you can get these two great innovative companies coming together, and the end result is going to be greater than the sum of the parts.
And obviously Elon Musk is the common denominator there, and his whole vision, the whole point of electric vehicles is not to be charging them from coal-powered electric stations. The whole point is to be long-term sustainable. So, and if you, in that mindset, you're a wealthy American living in California, it's not and you can afford it. So it's not necessarily a financial decision, although over the long run you probably will end up saving. You can buy the whole package. You get the Tesla vehicle, the Solar City, well now branded Tesla, tiles on your roof, and basically you completely off the grid, and that includes your transport.
Yeah, and it's interesting, if you look at the situation that Donald Trump and his advisors have described, possibly having a big infrastructure boom in the US, and you look at the utility companies particularly, blackouts and brownouts are very, very common in many parts of America. So I think it's not just the cost, but having said that, the cost of renewables these days, and again there are raging debates as to how you actually calculate the cost, but generally speaking the cost of 1 kilowatt of energy produced on a renewable basis is significantly lower than from fossil fuels these days. But over and above that is the situation now you've got where you can rely on it, So if you're off the grid, you won't have to worry about being cut off, having a brownout. The Rocky Mountain Institute in the US, they, about 2 or 3 years ago, put out a paper, and they reckon by the year 2030, there won't be a single household in the southern United States that will be linked into a utility company. They'll be getting their energy from the sun and storing it in batteries. So that's where we're going. And I think we're in this kind of interregnum period right now, where utility companies are bulking because they haven't embraced it. People aren't quite understanding what's going on, and at the same time, it's still moving apace, and it is moving actually quite rapidly.
Well, let's have a look at the share price there, and you can see it's been quite a bumpy ride. A big upsurge from 2012 as people started believing that actually these guys can bring some cars online and on board and, proper consistent customers. But it's been pretty choppy since the top there, as you can see, in 2014. There are a lot of naysayers of this business. The way you explain it, it seems so obvious. The fact is there's a huge amount of capital expenditure required, and it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be an easy ride. It's almost starting from scratch.
Yeah, no, you're quite right. And there's two sides to it, in fact, Byron. You're quite right. On this side, huge capex. There's a massive J-curve, as investment bankers like to call it. But on the other side, there's an awful lot of inbuilt capital expenditure for many, many decades, if not hundreds of years, in place. And those guys aren't going to go away quietly either. So you've got this kind of standoff. And ultimately, I do believe that the likes of Tesla will prevail because it is the obvious choice. But you're right, I think it's going to take quite a long time before the general public really gets into it. We don't see it in South Africa, but if you go to the UK and you go to Europe and you go to America and you're traveling down the highways and you stop in at a service station, you can just link your Tesla or whatever other car in and go and have a cup of coffee, and half an hour later you come back and it's fully charged. So, they are practical. So you don't have a situation where you can't really drive them very far other than an urban environment.
I just want to talk about the driving experience because, and it's almost like the Apple effect. People who own Apple iPhones talk about the experience and why they're willing to pay that premium. You know, when you look at a Tesla vehicle, the fact that you can do a software update overnight and then all of a sudden your car is slightly more efficient, or a defect windscreen wiper is fixed overnight. I mean, it all sounds pretty futuristic and quite incredible. And I think, you know, with Apple, the best salesman is the owner of the iPhone. I think it's similar. When you speak to someone who owns a Tesla, they're almost obsessed.
Yeah, and I think what you're seeing now with millennials, you know, first of all, they're not so keen on having their own car in the first place. They're not interested in doing long distance driving necessarily, as maybe their parents and their grandparents were. And when it comes to new technology, they embrace it far better and to a far greater extent than any other generation. So I think it's only when they have come of age, when they have got the spending power that their parents and some of the baby boomers have had in recent years, that they're going to go out and make the statement. And I think when it comes, strangely enough, it'll be quite quick. And as you rightly say, there's just so much you can do already. But it will take perhaps a new mindset of people coming in there, embracing this technology, maybe the millennials, and it's maybe not too far away.
And then so pushing SolarCity into the business, which is already pretty capital intensive, requires lots of cash. So the business certainly needs a lot of cash. It's got a big market cap, 30 billion, and they have gone to the market a couple of times. So at least they have that support. They do rely on elevated share price, though, for those capital requirements.
Yeah.
So self-fulfilling prophecy a little bit. So there definitely is risk. Are you hot or not?
I'm hot on it, not because of what we have right now, but for what I believe is going to happen in the future. Very elevated. Don't expect returns in the near future.
And you know that Elon Musk has a sleeping bag basically next to his desk. He's very involved, very passionate, and obviously, you know, a very big and popular figure amongst techies around the world. So
that's right.
You know,
and he's a South African.
The Elon Musk effect, exactly. You've got to back South
So
Africa.
you've got to back him.
Okay, so I'm going to be hot on Tesla as well.